What's up guys, Freddy Fishfinger here, and today I am playtesting Mega Audino, and I'm doing that because I figured, hey, there's a lot of Megas going around and people are using the ones that are cool. Mega Audino looks useful, so let me see if I can find a way to use this really well, because it's got 103 HP and then 126 in both defense and special defense, and you sit there and you go, it has to have a way of actually functioning. So I guess the best way to put it is, it's a little bit like a Clefable or something like that. You know, you can set up Carmines, and then you've got a variety of a move pool. Dazzling Gleam, you know, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, stuff like that, Psychic Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Surf even, and then you've got ways of recovering like Wish, and then you've even got something like Healing Wish, you've got Heal Bell, so it's a little bit here and there. You even get stuff like Knock Off both screens, stuff like that. Won't go too much into that. I figured that you've got three real ways of using it. Your Wish Carmine set, your T-Wave double screen support set, or your Rest Talk set, and that's the set I've gone for. With Mega Audino, I need stuff to be able to deal with steel types and poison types, so that's where the rest of the team came in. Excadrill's really helpful for that, as is Conkelda. Excadrill is really then supported by Tyranitar. Greninja's there to get rid of some fast threats, and Latias is there in case I get hazards all over the field and I can just defog them away. Really, the team was put together simplistically to really showcase Mega Audino, and this battle really does do that. So without any more stalling, I will click play, and we'll see that I lead with Excadrill. In hindsight, that wasn't the best play. Actually, I'll speed it up here because I'm on slow speed. That's wrong. That wasn't the best play. Should have led with Greninja, now that I thought about it, looking at his team, but either way it didn't matter because I wouldn't have stayed in against the Kyurem because I need Greninja for later on in the battle. So at this stage I go into Tyranitar because it's the only thing that's going to take a hit, expecting this Gliscor to come in, set up the rocks, meaning that way that I have that for the rest of the battle since he has no defoggers and no spinners, so I know that they're going to sit there. All I had to do was use them the once. Then when he has this Gliscor and I've got the problem, I want something to be able to take an Earthquake, and I want it to be able to deal with the potential Toxic. Since I'm running the Rest Talk Audino set, I figured, hey, if it gets poisoned, I can just rest back up later. So even though I know that this Gliscor is not really going to be taking much damage since it can sit there, you know, sub-protecting the entire time, I will at least be able to not be destroyed by it, and at the very worst stall out some of the PP. So the next couple of turns are very sort of boring and dull, where he's just sub-protect, Earthquake to get a little bit of damage, I rest back up, I go for, you know, Sleep Talk forces in Carmine, stuff like that. It's a couple of boring turns. The battle gets a little bit better on a little bit later, so just bear with it for the moment. As we can see, Sleep Talk, for whatever reason, I'm getting a lot of Carmines with Sleep Talk. Not complaining, but that's what's happening. I'm not getting a lot of rests. Bet you next time I use it, I get a hell of a lot of rests, which would suck, but still. Managed to get Draining Kiss off there. Draining Kiss does break its sub, because Gliscor doesn't have a hell of a lot of special defense. And now he's trying to set up his sub so that he can start all over again. But at this stage, now I've woken up and I've broken his sub. So he decides to swap out into Heatran, because Heatran will take the Draining Kiss. I knew that at this stage, but I do manage to break the balloon, which is awesome because I don't have to worry about his leftovers or anything like that. From here, I go out into Conkelda. I figure, what's he going to do? Either Flash Cannon or Lava Plume. Lava Plume, I can get burnt. That'll help Conkelda. Flash Cannon, I'm not going to take a lot of damage. Even though I knew he was going to go into Azumarill here, I went straight for the knockoff. If I knocked off a Citrus Berry, it's going to be fun. If I knocked off a Salt Vest, that was going to be good. If I knocked off Leftovers, which I didn't expect, then that worked for me too. But I have nothing for the Azumarill, so in comes Latias because it's the most expendable thing, since my opponent won't really get a chance to set up rocks if I keep playing well. Bring in Greninja, Gunk Shot, and Azumarill goes away. That's the thing with Greninja. I have to have Gunk Shot because it's the only way I can get rid of Azumarill. Seeing this Conkelda here, though, is a bit of a problem, and I've got nothing to... Well, that's actually not true. What I thought at the time was that I had nothing to really come in and really deal with this Conkelda. I found out later on in the battle that Audino... God, I can't even speak anymore. Audino was more than capable of coming in and taking any hit this Conkelda does. Even if Conkelda carries a Poison Jab, I take only like 36% at max, and that just doesn't threaten me at all. Sending in my Audino, I figure he's going to bring in Heatran. Swap out into Conkelda, that way I can come in, and I predict the Gliscor to come out, so I go for an Ice Punch. Ice Punch ensures that all of a sudden I'm on top of this battle again. This means that even though I'm 2 down, his Gliscor's in trouble. I've got his Heatran checked as long as I keep my Excadrill, Conkeldurr, or Greninja. If I keep one of them around, then the Heatran has problems. Kyurem doesn't really appreciate any of them either. So I waste a couple of turns here trying to see if I can potentially slow this Gliscor down. I realized that was the wrong sort of move. Knowing he'd go for Protect here, because he has no other option, I bring in Greninja, and all of a sudden Greninja can kill this thing off. And I figure there's no point in screwing around or whatever. If he swaps anything out, I can go and blast it with whatever move I want next turn because I outspeed my opponent's entire team. Unfortunately, by going for the Ice Beam, I forgot he can bring in Conkeldurr and scare me out with a Mach Punch. So I had to swap that out. I bring in my Audino. This is where I see that I am not threatened at the slightest. Drain Punch does 23%, and Draining Kiss will do about the same, and I can boost, and my opponent can't. That's where I realized the power behind Audino here. Even Diancie, who has a mean special defense that doesn't take Draining Kiss too well, and that's before I set up as well. So bring in Excadrill. Excadrill takes the Moonblast damage, and then just barely hangs on with Hidden Power. The 60.4% from that Hidden Power Fire was minimum damage, but I still had ways of dealing with the Diancie, as we could see before. Audino is coming in and it's just destroying my opponent's entire team. Basically, throughout this entire battle, I knew that once I got rid of the Heatran, Audino could do whatever it wanted, although the Azumarill I would have to keep in check, because if that was a Belly Drum Azumarill, I'd be in a bit of a problem situation. So from here, I try to whittle down the Conkeldurr, brings in Heatran, so I have to swap out, and I bring in Excadrill to sack it off at this stage as he goes for a sub, just lowering his health, and I know I'll outspeed, so I'm happy to Earthquake, lose Excadrill over here, and then I can bring in my Conkeldurr. Mach Punch will kill this thing off, and his Conkeldurr and his Kyurem won't appreciate the Mach Punch either. I'm happy to do that. In comes his Kyurem. I'll Mach Punch that to do some damage before I go. And even though he'll kill me, he's not left with a lot after this Life Orb damage. God, I can't speak. After Life Orb damage from the Dragon Claw. So all of a sudden, we're in this situation where we can bring in Greninja or we can bring in Audino. Greninja will outspeed both and kill both off. Audino will have to play around with a bit to make sure it doesn't die, but then we still add Greninja afterwards. Point was that Mega Audino is not the best Pokemon in the world, but if you find the right way to use it, it can be quite threatening. You have to find ways of stopping your opponent from setting up so that they can't just destroy you head on, and you have to find ways to make sure that your opponent can't bring in things that'll just check you. Also, you've got to make sure that you destroy poison and steel types, even if that's by carrying flamethrower or however. Once you deal with them, Mega Audino can wall anything that won't set up. There's very few things that will actually be able to take it head on. Few things like Greninja will be able to 2-hit KO it with Gunk Shot. Anything that packs a Steel or a Poison type move, I guess, would be able to as well, but Steel and Poison aren't common offensive types, so you should be able to go a bit of, you know, each their own, I don't know. But other than that, I run Regenerator on the normal Audino in case I need to swap it out and take a bit of damage beforehand, but it's a bit unfortunate. Mega Audino's ability doesn't quite suit in singles. It's a lot better in doubles, being healer, but it's still functional. It worked for me this time, and as you can see, I was able to bring it throughout the entire game, revolve it in and out. It worked for me, so yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed. That would be greatly appreciated, and if you would like, you can go check out a playtest I did on Mega Lopunny and Mega Beedrill.